Welcome to Far East Wargaming, bringing you another Horus Heresy Battle Report. Today, we're bringing you a 1550 point game of Zone Mortalis and a custom Far East Wargaming mission we're calling Secure the Intel. And today we're going to be playing the Emperor's Children, played by me, the Traitors, and Jason is going to be playing the Blood Angels.
I've got the Blood Angels again on the channel, this time a first for Zone Mortalis.
Yeah.
Ignore the weird points of 1550. It's mostly, again, due to the limitations of the collections that we have.
Mm-hmm. So we're playing a custom mission, and we just want to go through the rules. So there's two objectives, two intel containers, two servitors, that we have to acquire control of, and then move off the board in the center areas there.
Yes.
We're playing a 5-turn game with an option of a 6th, which is a bit longer for Zone Mortalis.
Yep.
But due to what we're trying to achieve with this mission, we are looking to need that extra time to move across the board. The deployment zones are in the corners, and we are randomly choosing them there. The Emperor's Children this time have had the left-hand side of the board.
By pure chance.
Yeah. Yep. And the Blood Angels have rolled for the right-hand side of the board there. Each team is starting with 6 reinforcement points, so all even. We rolled off, and the Emperor's Children are deploying and going first, but we are still playing the rules for he can save a point to try and seize the initiative.
Yep.
If you wanted to do that there. Another slight tweak to this is the way door controls are used. We're not using the standard door controls. We've got on the terrain 2 control panels for the doors, and we're saying you have to be in contact with one of those at the start of the turn to activate them.
Yep. So just to kind of summarize, the Traitors are the attackers, and they're trying to get the intel off of the ship.
Yeah.
They score 3 points if they successfully do that. The Blood Angels don't score anything unless we stop them. The secondaries include First Blood, which is going to be 1 point. We're going to have Attrition, which is going to be 2 points, and Slay the Warlord, which is going to be 3. So there is a chance to actually have a draw. Again, the main thing is who controls the intel, who gets it off of the board. The Emperor's Children are the ones that want to do that. We think this mission is going to be really nice, and we're also play testing it today because we want to use it in a future event.
Yeah. One other thing is, we do have jump packs in Zone Mortalis, and normally when you have ceilings, you can't use them. So we're creating a rule called high ceilings, which allows you to use jump packs, but not jump over doors and walls.
Yes, and probably the last thing to mention is that we use the S&N Battle Reports initiative-based rule on Artificer armor upgrades. Yeah. So that means sergeants can't roll more than 4 tanking attempts. So we wanted to summarize all of this for you because one of the feedback we got was, let's summarize any sort of house rules. But again, this is a very custom mission. It is a little bit complex what we described, but I promise when it's in the game, you'll probably be able to understand it pretty easily.
So look, we'll get to the armies and the terrain, but let's do a fist bump just to get this going. Let's have a great game.
Good luck, sir.
See you next. Here we have 1550 points of Traitor Emperor's Children running no right of war. Leading this force is a Praetor with a master-crafted Paragon Blade and Thunderhammer. His Warlord trait is Paragon of Excellence. Accompanying him is a 5-man Phoenix Terminator retinue. The whole unit has been given Sonic Shriekers. For the first elite choice, we have a Contemptor Dreadnought with 2 Gravis Power Fists, both with inbuilt Graviton guns. For the second elites, we have a 2-man Apothecarian Detachment. Both have been upgraded with Artificer armor, and one has been upgraded with a Warhawk jump pack. For the third elites, we have an 8-man Palatine Blade Aquila squad. 4, including the Palatine Prefector, have been upgraded with Phoenix Power Spears, and 3 have been upgraded with Phoenix Rapiers. The entire squad has been upgraded with Sonic Shriekers. For the first troops choice, we have a 10-man tactical squad. The sergeant has been upgraded with Artificer armor and Power Fist,
and one of the Legionnaires has been upgraded with a Legion Vexilla. For the second troop slot, we have another 10-man tactical squad. Once again, the Sergeant has been upgraded with Artificer armor and a Power Fist, and one of the Legionnaires has been upgraded with a Legion Vexilla. The third troop slot and the final unit selection for this force is a 6-man tactical support squad upgraded with plasma guns. The Sergeant has been upgraded with Artificer armor and given a Sonic Shrieker. This rounds up 1,550 points of Traitor Emperor's Children. Here we have 1,550 points of Loyalist Blood Angels running the Pride of the Legion Rite of War. This force is led by a Praetor in Tartarus Terminator armor, wielding a Combi Bolter and Paragon Blade. His Warlord trait is Encarmine Paladin. Accompanying him is a 5-man Cataphracti command squad. 2 have been upgraded with Combi Melter Guns, and 2 have been upgraded with Combi Plasma Guns. 3, including the Standard Bearer, are wielding Power Fists, and 2 are wielding Chain Fists. For elites, we start with a single Contemptor Dreadnought. He is wielding a Gravis Power Fist with inbuilt Iliastus Assault Cannon. He is also using a Keres Assault Cannon. For the second elites, we have a 10-man Dawnbreaker cohort. 6, including the champion, are wielding Equinox Power Blades. 4 are wielding Falling Star Power Spears. The entire unit has been upgraded with Melter Bombs. For troops, we start with a 5-man Crimson Paladin squad. The Crimson Exemplar has been upgraded with a Blade of Perdition. One of the Paladins has been upgraded with an Iliastus Assault Cannon. The rest are wielding Sunset Blades. The second troop choice is a 10-man tactical squad. The Sergeant has been upgraded with a Power Sword, and one of the Legionnaires is wielding a Legion Vexilla. The third troop choice and the final unit for this force is an 8-man tactical support squad, all upgraded with plasma guns. The Sergeant has been upgraded with Artificer armor. This rounds up 1,550 points of Loyalist Blood Angels running the Pride of the Legion Rite of War.
Here we have the board for today's Zone Mortalis game. The deployment zone for the Blood Angels are in this corner and the opposite one here. For the Emperor's Children, they're identical deployment zones on the other side of the board. The mission for today is to get one of these 2 objectives out of the zone, out of the board, in either of the middle edges over here. Deployment for the Emperor's Children, and we started off with the Contemptor being deployed near the door on this side, followed up by the Command Squad, which we had to deploy from the start because instead of 4 reinforcement points, they are 2 reinforcement points if deployed at the beginning. And the question was, do we bring in 2 tactical squads or the Palatine Blade Aquillas with the remaining 2 reinforcement points? And as you can see, the answer was the Palatine Blade Aquila squad has come in at the start of the game. So 3 units down, 3 remaining to come in. Deployment for the Blood Angels next.
For the Blood Angels, we've decided to overload on one flank because the Contemptor can't actually carry the objective marker, and because of Rich going first and having the jump packs, I need to be able to respond to that really, really quickly. So we've put the Praetor with his command squad over on this flank, just behind the door. We've also put the Dawnbreakers with their jump packs just behind the door. Both of those unit choices are 2 points to deploy. And then finally, the Contemptor is over here as well for another 2 points, using up all of my 6. The idea is that I have the speed to react to the Emperor's Children jump packers, but I also have some firepower over here to try and shoot them up if necessary.
Movement phase in turn 1 for the Emperor's Children. And we started off by opening the door for the Contemptor and making a run move towards the middle. He's all on his own, and even though he can't hold the objective, he can control the area and maybe take some pot shots at the door because we aren't on the side of the door controls, which are over here. For the HQ and the Palatine Blade Aquila, we actually were very conservative here because though we can move a long way, so can the Blood Angels, and we don't want to get charged down turn 1, and we want to kind of see what the Blood Angels are going to do in return. Nice to have first turn, actually a bit of a curse with the way we end up being deployed here.
So for the turn 1 movement for the Blood Angels, due to the way Rich positioned his models, I was not going to be able to actually get much of a charge off if I wanted to try that with the Dawnbreakers. So we've elected to kind of hug the middle cover and then see what happens after Rich's turn 2. The Contemptor was able to move to the right a little bit and draw a line of sight to those pesky jump packing Aquilas of the Emperor's Children, and he plans on shooting some assault cannon love into them in just a minute. And then finally, the Praetor and his command squad have come around the corner as well, prepared to perhaps charge, prepared to perhaps go later on after the door controls. We'll see what happens. Shooting phase for the Blood Angels, and it was pretty ineffective actually. It was even detrimental in some ways. So the only thing that could actually shoot was the Contemptor with his Carries Pattern Assault Cannon and the Elastius in his fist. When I elected to shoot at the Palatine Blades of the Emperor's Children, Rich wisely displaced 4 inches, getting him actually closer to the objective marker, which was a really smart play on his behalf. After all the shooting from those 2 assault cannons, you would think that we would have done something, and alas, it was not to be. Lots of hits, lots of wounds, 0 rends, 0 failed saves, which means no damage to the Palatine Blades, and we got them closer to the objective marker, which was obviously not optimal. Nobody is actually in either line of sight or range to charge, so we don't have an assault phase. But for this custom mission, at the end of each turn, these objective markers, these little droids, data collection droids, whatever you want to call them, they will randomly move D6 in a random direction, and we'll roll that off camera in just a moment.
Turn 2 for the Emperor's Children. Started off by the movement for these servos. It came into contact with the column, but not the door, so it stayed more or less put there. On the other side of the table, it moved towards the containers. And at the start of the turn, I used 2 points to bring in my tactical squad from outflank there, from the side. And they moved and ran to get as close as they can to that, and also restricting its further movement at the end of the next turn, with the goal of trying to run away with this free objective that the Blood Angels have left on this side of the table. The Contemptor was a bit more concerning of how I could use him. I decided to play conservative because he can outflank as well, and behind the Contemptor is the main door I want to use to get out. So we have placed ourselves in front of it to act as kind of a blocker, and if need be, something to charge the whatever comes in next turn. And we might even try in the shooting phase to shoot down that door in case we do lose control of the doors, because the door controls are on the Blood Angel side of the table, and there is a command squad that potentially could get there if they moved and ran in the next turn. Now, for the bulk of the forces that were on the table, the Palatine Blades decided we had to be a bit aggressive, because we're playing for the rules that they are acting like doors, these servos, so you can only interact with them in your normal movement phase. So that means no running, no jump packs either, because that changes the movement characteristics. So we've done what the Emperor's Children do best, and we've gone aggressive.
Indeed, and as a reaction to that, I've decided to suppress. I debated using the Dawnbreakers to possibly pin, but after thinking about it through my head, the likelihood was actually very low, so we went ahead and used the Contemptor. This time he was a bit more effective. He did manage to get 1 wound through on the Dawnbreakers thanks to a rend.
Yeah, so the Emperor's Children Palatine Blade Aquila Squad has taken 1 wound. We failed the rend on the Apothecary save. For the Phoenix Terminators with the Praetor, they also decided to run because they can possibly pick it up next turn if everything goes perfectly on this side of the table. But we will see what happens later in the assault phase. But I think we're going to have a very quick shooting phase for the Emperor's Children, and then a pretty interesting assault phase. Shooting phase for the Emperor's Children, and we only had the Contemptor with its 2 grav guns inside its fists. It turned around quickly and shot the door behind it, hoping to destroy it, because like I said, we may not have control of these doors for long. It managed to cause 2 glancing hits, so that's 2 hull points of the 3 gone. It got a bit exciting for the Blood Angels as well, because one of the dice came backwards, but luckily, since his ballistic seal is so high, it didn't actually move very far and still managed to clip the door there. That's the end of the shooting phase. We're going to come up with the assault phase over here next. Assault phase for the Emperor's Children, and as you can see, the Palatine Blade Aquila Squad managed to successfully charge into the Dawnbreakers there. Hammer of Wraths did nothing, but since they've got their special rule for the Emperor's Children, the spears went before the Dawnbreaker spears there.
Yep, you were all the way up to I6.
Yeah.
I did elect to brace, however, as a reaction, so if we did lose, we were going to stick.
The spears managed to cause 2 murderous strikes and then enough wounds to take another of the Dawnbreakers down before they could even strike. Then the swords on the Phoenix Rapiers managed to do nothing, but in reply, you managed to kill 3 guys.
Yeah, so my Equinox Blades, they actually hit very, very well, even though I needed 5s thanks to the Sonic Shriekers. We killed 3. But then we lost another guy, and tell me why we lost this guy.
Well, the Apothecary in the back over here saw his brethren dying and took his chainsword and managed to hit 3 times, causing 3 wounds, and there was a double 1, so we lost another Dawnbreaker. The Emperor's Children did win the combat, but since you decided to hold the line, that combat is now drawn. We are stuck in this melee. And that's the end of the phase for the Emperor's Children. We'll be back with the Blood Angels next.
So we figured that we would catch this very important moment on camera because of the way the rule interaction works. Now, after much debating, I had no choice but to actually bring in this plasma squad on the outflank as well, because if I came in from my table edge, there's no way that I would actually be able to get line of sight at any point to Rich's tack squad, which could just run away with the objective and the game. Now, remember, in Zone Mortalis, advanced reactions are allowed, which include your Legion advanced reaction as well as an advanced reaction like Interceptor. So I decided to risk it. The tactical squad used Interceptor and somehow managed to score 14 wounds on my plasma squad. So we're going to roll these on camera because this is pretty huge. So starting with the Artificer Armor of the Sergeant, and we play the S&N rules where I can only roll up to the maximum of my initiative. So he's going to take the first 4 of 14. And of course he's dead.
Oh my god.
And then we now
13 more.
we now have 13 more.
This is why we record
This could be a squad wipe from an intercept reaction, and these are 3-ups. And that's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I lose 6 total in the plasma squad, including the sergeant. Obviously, very much affecting their effectiveness on shooting in just a moment. For the remainder of the movement phase for the Blood Angels, after that absolutely brutal intercept reaction on the other side of the table, we had to play a little bit cagey over here. Unfortunately, due to the positioning of the models in the scrum, I actually can't get past them to try and go after the Emperor's Children command squad. So instead, we've gotten as close as we can. We're probably going to just declare a charge on the Palatine Blades to assist them. The Contemptor has moved forward as far as he can to try and cut off or at least surround the command squad, as well as be able to get some shots in the shooting phase. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty pivotal moment. If we can't slow down this EC freight train, then we may be chasing them for the remainder of the game. Shooting phase for the Blood Angels, we opened up with the remaining 2 plasma gunners, and they actually did some work, scoring 4 hits with their plasma guns. But unfortunately, we missed a little bit on the to-wound rolls. We did get 2 breaches and 1 normal save. So 2 guys were killed, and then 1 other guy passed the save. Not enough to force a check, which would have been really optimal in that particular situation, but it is what it is. After debating, we decided not to shoot anything else, because if we fired either the command squad or the Contemptor into the EC command squad, they could displace and potentially take themselves out of the charge arc of the Contemptor. I really want to charge in with that Contemptor because he can do some damage on that squad. Assault phase for the Blood Angels, and it's not a very good one. The Contemptor went ahead and made the charge in. You activated your Perfect Defense.
Perfect Guard,
Perfect Guard, yes.
Lowering your weapon skill.
So unfortunately, I was hitting on 5s, and I didn't hit a single time. And in return, the combination of spears and the Thunderhammer from the Praetor actually killed me. I exploded, and I wounded all 6 of them, but none of them failed their save. So that's what happens when a Contemptor charges Emperor's Children. It's pretty ugly. Moving on to the other big scrum, you would think that a command squad, a Praetor, and the remainder of the Dawnbreakers could finish off this squad, but no, they can't, because the Sonic Shriekers were activated once again, and then even with all those Power Fist and other attacks, I did 1 guy's death, and that was from a single Power Fist. The entire command squad only hit once and wounded once.
The Praetor as well.
The Praetor as well didn't hit or wound anything. So the net effect of all of this was I actually lost the combat, and only thanks to the banner did we actually stick around. It'll be another round of combat coming over in just a moment, but that is huge because losing both of these combats pretty much means the Emperor's Children have free reign to move off with the objectives in just a moment.
Turn 3 for the Emperor's Children. And the objective actually moved 1 inch into the door, opening it, which helped the Emperor's Children there. They picked it up and moved. As you can see, we actually brought in the Tac Support Squad, Plasma Squad, in from the rear from 1 reinforcement point, saving a reinforcement point for future use if needed there. These guys are all stuck in combat, so there is no movement for this blob. On the other side of the table, the tactical squad made their move towards the door they need to get into. And there was a Overwatch reaction, so a suppressing fire reaction.
Yeah, I elected to go ahead and suppress with the plasmas just because why not? We didn't score a single hit. We managed 1 gets hot in the process, but thankfully we didn't kill ourselves.
And then the Contemptor is actually staying put. There's no point in moving off to go charge the Plasma Squad there, because there are still some Terminators that could potentially come in, and I need to act as a roadblock with that Contemptor. We've got a very short shooting phase coming up next. Shooting phase for the Emperor's Children, and we had a bit of a debate here on what was best course of action, and we decided that the Contemptor continuing to shoot the Grav into this door was the best, even though it causes dangerous and difficult terrain. I think we're in a safe enough position that we just prefer to make sure the door is gone, since we are carrying that objective here. We hit twice, and we hit on target twice, aiming for the corner. So as you can see, we left the Grav template there for difficult and dangerous. I think nearly every single one of the Emperor's Children the next turn is going to have to run through that. So we'll take some tests there. But then the Emperor's Children's tactical squad unleashed on the Plasma Squad, which they nearly decimated in the Interceptor.
Yeah, we tried to displace to get out of line of sight, but we couldn't. But we could at least minimize the number of rapid-fire shots, but it still didn't matter. We lost 1 of the guys, but we didn't break. So at least we have a chance to possibly kill a couple dudes in the next turn.
Next, we're going to have the assault phase, and this is going to be key. If they can stick, I think this game might be over. Assault phase for the Emperor's Children. And as you can see, it kind of went as we'd expect with a 2-on-1 here. We did go for perfect guard, sacrificing our own attacks. The Blood Angel's Praetor managed to miss all of his attacks and did no damage with his Paragon Blade. But we were also rather ineffective with only one murderous strike going through and taking 1 wound off the already wounded Dawnbreaker model there, passing 2 more normal wounds on their Artificer armor. But then it really came down to the Terminators, and with their Power Fists, even hitting on 5s, some good rolling, they had 6 wounds, which is 6 instant deaths for the Emperor's Children there. That's that entire squad wiped. The Blood Angels will consolidate and will come to Blood Angel's turn next.
So once again, we had no choice but to bring on attack squad into the outflank to try and slow down the objective carrying Emperor's Children. We were subject once again to an intercept. We failed all 6 of the saves that we elected to take on normal guys. Thankfully, we didn't lose the sergeant, but I wish I was joking. 3 1s, 3 2s, 6 guys dead from an intercept. This attack squad has probably killed 300 points worth of models just in interceptor reactions. But we have no real choice. We actually have to come on and try and get as many shots onto that squad as we can to try and slow them down, or the game will be over. So movement phase for the Blood Angels. We've moved up the command squad as far as possible with trying to get into contact with these guys in just a moment for assault phase. The Dawnbreakers have used their jump packs to kind of jump over and get the angle that they also need when they make the charge. We want to definitely multi-charge into this with as much as possible. And the only remaining items that I have to move, or item to move, would be the lone plasma gunner who was still on that left flank. He's moved up to put himself in rapid fire range because, again, we got to do something about that tac squad. If we don't slow it down, then the game will pretty much be in the hands of the Emperor's Children. Shooting for the Blood Angels, and it was much more successful than all the previous rounds combined. So the tac squad and the remaining plasma gunner unloaded into the Emperor's Children. The plasma gunner shot first, killing 1 of their member with a breach. The tac squad then unloaded in, and the Emperor's Children elected to try and tank the first shot on the sergeant, who failed. And then we killed another one of their member as well. Now this did force a check on a 7 leadership, and Rich passed it exactly on a 7. It would have been so nice for them to flee and drop that objective, but unfortunately they've got it. They did also do a displacement in the movement phase, or excuse me, from the shooting as well, and it did trigger a couple dangerous terrain checks due to the grav template, but they were ineffectual. Would have really liked to see that unit break, but unfortunately it didn't. Coming over to this side, the command squad is loaded with combi weapons, including 2 combi meltas and 2 combi plasmas, and the shooting was really, really good. Both meltas hit. Both meltas wounded, but only 1 of the Emperor's Children was instant death. The plasmas scored 4 hits, scored 3 breaches, and 2 of those were passed on invulns, only wounding 1. So we got a little bit unlucky there with the Emperor's Children's great saves. The Dawnbreakers opened up with their assault grenade launchers in an attempt to try and pin the Emperor's Children, but we were completely ineffectual in scoring any wounds at all. However, that's helpful. Killing 1 of that command squad, really, really helpful. It's going to come down to the charge in just a minute, whether or not we can kind of stop this. Assault for the Blood Angels. It was pretty effective. We managed to kill 3 of the Phoenix Terminators plus 1 wound on the Praetor. In return, we lost 1 of the command squad and another 1 that got wounded. Yeah, the Sonic Shriekers and the various rules for the Phoenix Terminators actually make it very difficult to hit them. I would have loved to have plowed through this squad, but it is what it is. We did win combat. The Emperor's Children, thanks to the stubborn nature of the Phoenix Terminators, they didn't break. In some ways, this is good because it saves me from actually getting shot up by plasma, but it's bad because I really wanted to be able to kill that squad and continue on into the main hallway to have any sort of chance in stopping the Emperor's Children tac squad. But we'll come back. We'll see if it makes a difference in turn 4.
Emperor's Children movement phase, and we're getting towards the end here. We did have 3 reinforcement points, but we only used 1 to bring on the last tactical squad here. We just opened the door and moved out. This is just in case something would happen to the carrying tactical squad. But they managed to successfully run all the way to the edge. They will probably be off the board next turn on the last turn of the game. Our Contemptor moved up just to get in their face, and he did get shot by the Plasma Squad.
Yeah, the lone plasma gunner decided to be a hero finally. He elected to suppress. He scored 1 hit on a lucky 6, and he managed to get a breach through, and the Emperor's Children of Contemptor failed the invuln.
And then, just to be safe, to not give any more points away, I think we've resigned the command squad, well, the Phoenix Terminators, to their death there. We closed the door for the plasma squad because there's no viable target since everything is in combat over here. And in the next turn, I don't think these guys will be around, so we don't want to get charged by them there. We'll be up with the assault phase next because the Emperor's Children aren't going to do any shooting. Assault phase for the Emperor's Children, and we had the Contemptor charge in. They braced successfully. He managed to kill only 2, so that unit has stuck and they're not going anywhere. But the important one, our Warlord and our lone Phoenix Terminator, we decided to put some Paragon Blades into the Dawnbreakers and killed 2 of them with 2 murderous strikes, and he did take 1 wound from the extra attack there from the Paragon Blade, so that last Sergeant for the Dawnbreakers is on a wound. Then came the Phoenix Terminator. He managed to do only 1 wound, but then got squashed in the end by the fists. They died, murder strikes, right? Instant deathing. The Praetor swiftly followed suit with the extra attacks from the command squad there. They're going to be consolidating next, and we'll be getting into the Blood Angel's turn.
We elected to get another incredibly important moment on camera. So the remaining Dawnbreaker, after the consolidate in the combat, has elected to move his full 12 in a desperate attempt to try and slow down the Emperor's Children. Now, we did take a suppress reaction from the tac squad over on this side, resulting in 2 wounds that made it through on him. And remember, he's only got 1 left. So he needs to pass both of these if we have any hope of stopping the Emperor's Children from getting off the board. And he does. Could he be a hero? We'll see in just a minute. Summarizing the movement phase for the Blood Angels, we elected to actually be very cautious and move backwards. The reason why we've done this is nobody can go get that other objective marker, and I really don't want to give up actually a Warlord kill in the event that we somehow manage to stop the Emperor's Children from getting off the board. As we just showed a minute ago, the lone Dawnbreaker that's still alive has a long bomb charge, but he does have a chance to perhaps wipe out that squad and make them drop the objective. The Plasma Gunner came around the corner. He doesn't have any shots, unfortunately, on anybody, but he wants to at least get into a position if we have a final turn to see if we can do anything. It's really going to come down to the lone Dawnbreaker. Can he pull this off? We'll see in just a minute. So we want to capture this moment as well. There was no shooting in the Blood Angels phase. It's really going to just come down to this charge. And we pre-measured. It's a distance of 8, but thanks to the jump pack, I need to roll a 6 on this. If I make it into combat, then we have a chance. If I don't make it into combat, then the game is going to be over because the Emperor's Children will go off the table with it. So let's see what happens. Can we roll that 6? Can he be the hero that we need? No, it's a 5. Just 1 short. And unfortunately, I think that's going to do it for the Blood Angels because Emperor's Children will just take off the table in just a moment. Oh, man. Needed a 6 on that.
Well, that was a exciting game, to be honest. Very glad, very happy with this mission.
Yeah, I got to say, what we thought was going to happen in terms of playability and, a compelling game actually did happen. So that's a good sign of the custom mission. I'm very happy about perhaps putting this in our next event.
Yeah. So the final score was 4 points for the Emperor's Children and 2 points for the Blood Angels. 3 points were taken for getting the objective. We didn't show turn 5 because the beginning of turn 5 would have just been the Emperor's Children walking off the board and scoring their 3 points there.
Yes.
But close, very close. Considering that Dawnbreaker at the end, that could have changed everything there.
Yeah, I promise. We don't script things. We don't telegraph things in our bat reps. It happens exactly as it happens. And if that Dawnbreaker had made the charge against that tac squad with no sergeant, he's going to butcher probably 3 or 4 of them and at least force a check. Mm-hmm. Could have been a totally different game there at the end, which is absolutely shocking considering how atrocious my dice were. Yeah. But it is what it is. So yeah, it was a very interesting game and I liked it a lot. I think it's something unique and different for Zone Mortalis and we encourage you to try something the same.
Yeah, I like the balance of it in the terms of it's more of an even game, even though strategic advantage was there and the attackers are going first, the Emperor's Children there. The the way the deployment worked and the way, well, your dice were actually pretty atrocious.
Honestly, I think it's the worst I've ever had. In my life, it could be the worst I've ever had, but that's okay.
Yeah. No, look, give us your feedback on what you thought of the scenario itself. We will be tweaking a few things. It's not perfect just yet, but we liked the custom rules. It was nice to see some jump packs on a Zone Mortalis board with some of the restrictions because, well, just a lot of people are using them nowadays and in their forces.
Yeah, actually the Blood Angels army that we have doesn't have enough foot soldiers to actually play just a pure Zone Mortalis with just, tac squads and no jump packs and things like this. So, but again, you have freedom to tweak things as you like. This was a really, really enjoyable game. Yeah, big winner.
Yeah, a lot closer than I thought it would be at the end, considering that scrum in the middle. The Palanting Blades did survive for a decent amount of time.
They put in some work.
Yeah, but they did die in the end. So I'd have to say, for my man of the match, it has to be
I know it's coming.
Tac Squad that took the objective and destroyed a lot with their shooting.
Yes, don't forget in Zone Mortalis, you can use advanced reactions, and Interceptor is an advanced reaction. That single tac squad killed 6 plasma gunners, and killed another 6 tac marines purely by Interceptor. And then whatever else you did after that in terms of shooting, you also whittled off a few more here and there. Yeah, man of the match. Plus you carried the intel off the board and successfully to the flagship of the Emperor's Children.
Yep, so what's the man of the match for you?
To me, it was actually a hard decision because I didn't have any units that actually did really, really well. But I do have to give it to the Dawnbreakers. I mean, I did have a chance there at the very end. If that lone guy had made the charge, I could have actually won or drawn the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got to give it to the Dawnbreakers. They didn't have a lot of offensive punch just because they kept running into things that were striking before them. But he gave me a fighting chance, so I got to give it to them.
Yeah. So, look, thanks for tuning in to our latest battle report here. Let us know in the comments what you liked and constructively what you didn't like and what we could try and do better. We're trying our best to get all the rules as accurate as possible, especially in these shorter versions, these Zone Mortalis in 30 minutes here. We'll be back next week with another battle report and on Thursdays with our Heresy Thursday, bringing you some reviews of some legions and also what latest Warhammer releases have got. There's been quite a few juicy ones recently.
Indeed, yeah, I can't wait to get to the next Heresy Thursday, actually. So please, yeah, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff. Leave your comments. We love interacting with you. And if you have questions about this particular mission or any of the other custom things that we do, you just let us know.
From me, Richard, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Catch you on the next one.